Welcome back, my friends. We're glad you're here. Well, it has been a while since he's been on our show to talk about his travels on the cheap, but the world is opening back up, and he's taken advantage. Please give it up for our good friend. There he is, the birthday boy, Jared from Thrifty Traveler. Hi, buddy.
Great to see you, Jason. Thank you.
Good, happy belated birthday to you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
You don't look a day past 17. Look at you. You're aging backwards.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's working so far.
Okay, I have a lot of questions, and I know you're going to help some people today because a lot of us, as you know, are starting to fly again. You just got back from Iceland and Alaska. So let's start with Iceland. What was required? What did you have to do? How was it? Take us through it.
So yeah, the big thing for international travel right now is it is definitely a little bit more complicated than, like, let's say traveling to Alaska. So for Iceland specifically, and every country is going to be different, Iceland requires a COVID test on arrival. And then there's a US rule for all international travel that when you return to the US, you have to have a COVID test on 72 hours before you return. So it requires some testing, even if you're vaccinated.
How hard was it for you to coordinate all of that testing?
So yeah, it sounds like a lot, but it's pretty easy. So like for Iceland, when you arrive, you just, do a little swab and then you can, get into Iceland and then you get your results in like 5 hours and it's free. But your return test, I think it costs around $75. So it is a little bit of a pain, but I will say that once you arrive, that's definitely a big hurdle for a lot of other travelers. So there aren't very many tourists currently abroad in comparison to maybe a domestic trip.
Just a fun question. How was Iceland?
It was amazing. The weather, for the most part, was amazing. It's a nonstop, generally, cheap $400 to $500 flight from MSP nonstop on Icelandair or Delta. It's just convenient and it's just like another planet. And I highly recommend, everybody out there to check it out at some point.
I remember, Jared, my friend Alexis from the radio show went, and you don't realize, I think, when you think of the globe, Iceland is not that far away. I mean, I always think of it as like, my concept is, it's going to be a long flight. It's not a long flight at all.
No, yeah, it's only 5 to 6 hours, and it's, less of a time change and less jet lag than if you were to go to, mainland Europe. So yeah, it's great. And especially in the summer, I mean, they have over 20 hours of daylight right now because they're so far north, which makes exploring, that much easier.
Let's talk Alaska. So we did a little international there. What was that like? What were some of the hurdles and things that you learned?
Yeah, so for Alaska, first off, flights are incredibly cheap from MSP right now to both Anchorage and Fairbanks, nonstop round trip on Delta for around $200. So it's never been cheaper. Normally it's about $400 to $500. So there's a lot of people want to go to Alaska this summer, and a lot of airlines, including Alaska Airlines, and Sun Country, they're all competing for cheap fares to Alaska. So that just works. Anytime there's competition, it just works in, obviously, the passengers' benefit. So it's been very exciting and, a great place to go. One big problem right now is rental cars, and that's true anywhere in the US. But we saw a lot of people renting U-Haul pickups. Seriously, like at tourist sites, you'd see, 1 or 2 U-Haul pickups because there's literally no rental cars. So we recommend, U-Haul or Turo, which is kind of like Airbnb for cars, and it's an app. So, that's definitely an option and something you should consider.
Wait, is that a bear? Is that a bear?
That is a big grizz, yeah.
That's a grizz. And did you shoot that?
I did not shoot the bear.
No, I mean the video, Goober, the video.
Yeah, I did. It was not a wild bear. It was in a wildlife conservancy, but still, with the mountains in the background, it looks like I am just a professional, videographer.
I was gonna say, where are you and Mrs. Thrifty hiking? I mean, that you are just like walking
I'm using her as bait.
Seriously, I know. Overall, though, Jared, whether it's Alaska or Iceland, and I know I've traveled last week. What are your observations? Because, every day it seems like something's changing, a rule, alcohol's back. And what were your general observations about what traveling is like flying right now?
It is slowly returning to normal. One big thing that you need to know is just if you're going to be flying, you have to have a mask in the airport and on the plane. I will say, just seeing people, that seemed to be a surprise to some people. Getting on the plane, some people wouldn't be wearing a mask, and that's just one of the few places now that we absolutely still have to. So, just be prepared when you get to the airport to mask up until you leave at your destination.
Yeah, and again, I think Jared will join me in this. Listen to the flight attendants. Don't be one of those people fighting with flight attendants. All they are doing is enforcing the rules. I'm sure they don't like it any more than we do. It's just, anyway. When we come back, it's what Jared's famous for on this show. His killer deals. What are they? Where are they? Where can you go? You're going to find out when we come back. Back in a moment. Welcome back to the show. We are back with Jared from thriftytraveler.com. We're going to talk travel deals. Jared, as I said, I just went to LA last week, and it was as close to normal, I think you'd agree, as we have been for a while. And with that, I wanted to ask you, I know you don't have a crystal ball and you can't see into the future, but a lot of these airlines leading the pack as Delta have really added more, I would say, more grace and more services, like, no change fees and making it easier to change. Do you see all of these perks slowly going away and going back to what it was like before COVID?
Some of them I think will stick around. I think probably one of the most important ones is, and this is probably like a key takeaway, is when you book a flight now, as long as you book a main cabin fare, so avoiding basic economy and book a main cabin or standard economy fare, you can cancel it for a voucher. And that is just an amazing feature, something that, we never got before. So, pay the $50 to $75 more to get a main cabin fare. And, let's say you decide to change your, the dates you want to fly, or you just don't want to go on the trip. You can just cancel it online and get a voucher for a future trip. And that's just probably one of the biggest things to come out of air travel from COVID.
Yeah, Lord knows.
Positive things.
Lord knows they ain't paying me to say this. I will say, having traveled during, before, after, blah, 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 Delta, man, they could write a master class, in my opinion, of how to handle something like this. I always felt safe on their planes, and I really appreciated it as a consumer.
Yeah, and I talked to a woman on a flight yesterday back from Anchorage to Minneapolis, and she said the same thing. She'd happily pay a little bit more to fly Delta and not have to just deal with, it's just so much easier.
Yeah, the A+ to them, in my opinion. Okay, let's do some deals, Jared. What do we have?
Yeah, so I was talking a little bit about Anchorage, Alaska and Fairbanks, Alaska, around $200. I think Fairbanks is nonstop round trip, which is kind of the entrance way to Denali National Park. If you want to see those bears, that's a place you want to go. So, that's a great spot. We talked about the rental cars, little complications. Another big sale that just dropped this morning. All Southwest fares from September through November are 50% off this morning. So no matter if you want to go to Cancun, or you want to go to Hawaii, or you just want to go to Chicago or Denver, go to thriftytraveler.com. We've got all the details. There's a promo code. But yeah, Southwest fares are 20% off. Half off. So we've seen fares as low as $300, I think, and $24 to Hawaii, which is pretty crazy because that's normally around $600. Some other good ones: Miami, Fort Lauderdale this summer and fall, $137. Denver, really cheap, $96 nonstop round trip on Delta. And we've seen some great international deals with Europe opening up. And I'd recommend, if you want to go to Europe, start thinking about, August, September, October into the fall, when things will really start opening up, with a bunch of different European countries. And we've seen flights on Icelandair, to Amsterdam, as well as to Dublin for around $450.
That's a great deal. I will end by, once again, I'm a big cheerleader for you. And I was talking about you to somebody else a couple days ago because, I always take 2 weeks off in the summer. And this year we're going to Florida and we're going back to Hawaii. And trust me, and Lord knows he ain't paying me, the tricks that Jared taught me and Thrifty Traveler taught me 3 years ago, I was telling executive producer Jeff, every flight that we're taking during these 2 weeks and hotel stays, I'm only paying for one hotel stay, and everything else is on points using tricks that Jared and Thrifty Traveler taught me. So again, on behalf of a grateful family, thank you, Jared.
Thank you, Jason.
I'm serious. It's some good deals. Give the best to your wife, and watch out for those Grizzlies, Jared.
Will do. See you later, Jason.
For more information, head to thriftytraveler.com. I'm not kidding, though. We're flying to Orlando, then to Honolulu, all on points. Kendall, all on points. It's just nutter butters. We'll take a break. We'll be back after this.